What's picking, everybody? We are back for another episode of Pickin' Fights. I'm joined by Tom. I'm Keith, and today we have a very special guest, my good friend, Jared JJ Skidds. Skidds, how are you tonight?
Pleasure to be here, very excited to talk UFC. Not very knowledgeable, but just happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, man. Skidds is a great college football player right now. I know he's got a couple of highlight tapes out there floating on the internet. Make sure you check those out. Tom, how are you tonight?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. I'm better than I had been in the last few days. I got to say, in life, I classify people in like categories. There's good people, and then there's misguided people. And then there are people who are just kind of assholes, and, they are very condescending, and they think that they're the cock of the walk, and they think they own everything. And, at the end of the day, you just got to do your best to separate yourself from those people whenever possible, especially if they're going to be condescending, putting you down, thinking they're better than you, especially when they're not too. So that's what we did. You may notice we're on a new YouTube channel. We're on the Pickin' Fights YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't, like, comment, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dog. Can't wait to blow this up with you, Keith. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm great, man. It's one of those situations everybody can really relate to, right? Like, we've all been in a weird relationship where your friends are telling you, like, man, get away from this person. You got people in your ear calling you up saying, hey, this person, some would say maybe a bitch, right? And we were in a similar situation, I would say. And when you're in those types of relationships with people, the best thing that you can do is just back away, move on, and focus on yourself. And that's exactly what we're doing here.
I think the situation you guys had to deal with this last week is a lot similar to like how a coach who kind of thinks he's all that in a bag of chips would react to a situation similar. I think a lot of the time coaches want all the attention for doing something good, but then want to go and blame their players when something goes wrong. And I think if you're going to embrace all the good, you got to embrace all the bad. So if you don't have a leader like that, I think your organization kind of falls apart.
Yeah, man.
Yes,
You got to respect our players.
Sorry to cut you off there, Keith. But, to your point, sometimes, like, when you have that, you got to cut those people. They're just dead weight. They're really, really heavy, dead weight. And, Diego Sanchez, if you're watching this right now, let this be a lesson to you, man. Cut the dead weight. Your weight is probably less heavy than our weight was, but nevertheless, you got to get those toxic people out of your life, Diego. Come on, buddy. You got this.
Absolutely. I'm sure Diego could take a lesson out of our book. So we're going to jump right in and give you some locks to start with. So my biggest lock of the night, I'm a big fan of Ben Rothwell, man. This guy is big. He's strong. And even when he isn't the biggest, strongest guy in the ring, he's still in the octagon. He still comes out with some wins, right? My favorite part about Ben Rothwell, just off rip, is his nickname, the Huggy Bear. I love it. Huggy Bear is one of my favorite characters from the Starsky and Hutch remake movie, played by Snoop Dogg. So absolutely love the nickname here. He's got a very unusual style. He's extremely unorthodox, and he likes to come out and put the pressure on guys very, very early, very, like, right from the jump. He's in your face. He likes those clinch situations and very in close. And he'd rather really stand in the pocket and just throw with you and make it a dogfight. And he really presents a high volume of strikes just off rip. And the dude he's fighting, Chris Barnett, first sign to me, this guy doesn't even have a picture on the UFC website. Not to mention, went back and watched a couple of his old fights. He's not a brawler. When he gets cracked by guys like Ben Rothwell, he doesn't back up and doesn't know how to defend himself. He exposes his chin. He keeps his hands down, chin up. And I'm really feeling Ben Rothwell here. I don't like his line straight up. Right now it's sitting about minus 300, I believe. But he does have a 74% KO rate in his fights. And it looks like the line for a KO from him is about plus 600 right now. That's big money right there. Also, another bet that I like, almost absolutely a lock, is this fight to not go the distance, which is plus 156 right now. I'm a big fan of those two lines. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Listen, Chris Barnett's taking this fight on short notice. Chris Barnett doesn't have too many like big time wins in the UFC. Now, Chris Barnett's very interesting. The guy is 5'9", and he's 260 pounds. He might even have to cut to 260. So, and that being said, he's also a karate guy. So he's quite literally Chris. My brain is going on me again. But he's quite possibly the real life Chris Farley in the Beverly Hills Ninja. We saw the Beverly Hills Ninja actually fight last week, but let me tell you, he loves to throw spinning kicks. He loves to do that. He's basically Stephen Thompson in a 5'9", 270-pound black man frame. So he's a lot of fun. However, going against Ben Rothwell, who's got a lot more experience, he's got a lot more length. He has wins over OSP and Steven Struve in his last 3. So because of that, I really like Rothwell. Like you said, Barnett has a high chance to gas out, and Rothwell, he's got a lot of that longer length to negate a lot of Chris Barnett's kicks. I've been saying it. Everyone who's been watching our videos, you know that I'm really high on these karate guys. But the way that the karate works is by keeping your distance, landing with the front leg, and having a powerful jab. If you can't get inside on somebody, if you are that much shorter or that much less of a reach, that karate style is really, really negated. Not to mention that Ben Rothwell's been in there with the greats. And, I just think he'll know how to beat Chris. I think he'll be safer. I like Rothwell a lot. I didn't know that the line was so drastic for him to have a KO, Ben Rothwell, that is. However, it's not that drastic of a line for the fight to not go the distance. So it seems like Vegas is thinking that Chris Barnett's going to knock out Rothwell, which I really don't see happening. So I'm taking Ben Rothwell as a lock. And then for additional value, I say, Ben Rothwell KO right there with you, Keith.
Yeah, those lines might move, as the week goes on and as people take that, because I know a lot of people are hot on this guy, Ben Rothwell, right now. But the craziest thing that I just heard you say that I didn't even know going into this episode was that Chris Barnett is 5'9". That is basically short for a heavyweight. That's like, he's basically fighting giants out there. So, Skidds, you got anything to say about that?
I think Ben Askren and Chris Benoit is a very interesting fight. I'm going to go ahead and say after what he showed against his fight with Jake Paul, I just don't think Ben Askren can pull it out. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Chris Benoit by a landslide.
Okay. Don't hate the pick. I don't know if that's from like 2-3 years ago, but I like it. Let's move on. So we got the first pick for this main card, right? We got Jack Hermansson versus Edmund. I can never say his last name right. Shahbazyan. Okay, there we go. Edmund Shahbazyan. Look, I like Jack Hermansson in this fight personally. The man went 5 rounds with Marvin Vettori, and we've seen over his past couple of fights that Marvin Vettori is just a different kind of dog. He's up for a title fight next month against Israel Adesanya. He earned that after just completely dominating Kevin Holland for 5 rounds. And Jack Hermansson is a slight favorite in this at -155, but that's still not even like a drastic line where it doesn't make sense to not take him. He's been having a few chin issues lately, but when he does get cracked in the face, he knows that he has to cover up and, circle around the octagon, get away from the guy he's fighting. He's fought through broken ribs. This is a guy that mental toughness is really a factor for Jack Hermansson. And, we saw this with Tony Ferguson last week at 262, that when you have a guy that's mentally tough, he might be getting his ribs broken. He might be getting his arms ripped out, his heels completely torn to shreds, but he still kind of hangs in there and makes his presence known in the fight. I don't think that, Edmund Shahbazyan is going to break Jack Hermansson's ribs this week. So I like Jack Hermansson here. And last thing I want to say, Edmund has bad cardio. We've seen this over numerous fights. He does gas out, even in those 3-round fights. So I'm rocking with Jack Hermansson at -155. Might add it to a parlay this week, but that's who I'm rocking with here.
Yeah, when we started this, I could have went either way. I liked Hermansson, but I could see a path to victory for Shahbazyan. Looking back at Shahbazyan's, record here, He beat Antonio Jones, Darren Stewart, Charles Boyd, and Jack Marshman. None really phenomenal wins, not phenomenal contenders. He goes up, he fights Brad Tavares, knocks him out with a kick. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Then he fights Derek Brunson and gets TKO'd by Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson, we remember, went to decision with Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland then fought Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori beat the crap out of him. So by UFC math, that says that, Marvin Vettori much better than Derek Brunson. Marvin Vettori better than Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland at least on the same par. I'm talking crazy here. Marvin Vettori at least on the same level of Derek Brunson. Jack Hermansson went long with Marvin Vettori. I think he'll have a not an easy night against Edmund. I mean, Edmund, they call him the golden boy. He's been training with Ronda Rousey for quite some time now. But, Keith, you hit it right on the head. Jack, he gets hit, but he's really, really good at recovering. He's really good at bringing somebody in, bringing on the ground, and recovering from that. And in that fight with Marvin Vettori, where he stood and banged with him, he had a broken foot and a broken orbital bone while fighting Marvin Vettori. So, and he went the full 5 rounds with him. Marvin Vettori fighting for a championship, you're going to take basically 2 handicaps into a fight and go 5 rounds to a decision. I really like that. He's got a great ground and pound as well. Jack Hermansson, like I said, has the ability to survive after being hit. Edmund doesn't have great grappling. His cardio is even worse. Hermansson, he beat Kevin Gastelum, Jacare Souza, and Edmund really doesn't have a great base in MMA. He kind of is like a Swiss Army knife, and when you get hit, when you get rocked, you need to have a really good base to fall back on. You fall back to your lowest level of training, and unfortunately for Edmund, he had such an even training and upbringing that he doesn't have one area that he really excels in to fall back on. So should Jack, in the later rounds, ground and pound him in the second or the third round, get him down and hurt him, Edmund doesn't have wrestling background to fall back on Michael Chandler would. Or, he doesn't have jiu-jitsu like, Charles Oliveira. So because of those reasons, I'm almost willing to call Jack Hermansson a lock here. Jack Hermansson, I don't know what the line's at as far as the rounds, but I really like Jack Hermansson in the second or even the third round here to win by TKO or by decision. Not 100% sure on the method of victory yet, but I don't know. The more we're talking about it, the more we're going through it, the more I'm looking at the past. Jack Hermansson, he's got the history. He's fought big names. Edmund Shahbazyan, he really only has Brad Tavares, which really isn't like a gigantic name. I think Jack Hermansson would beat the crap out of Brad Tavares. No disrespect, Brad, but I gotta go Jack Hermansson, and I'm getting more and more bullish on this. By I'm not sure I want to call it a lock yet, but I really, really like Hermansson. I'm probably gonna put some money on Hermansson. So if you want to follow me, do that. It could go either way, but I really, really feel confident about Hermansson.
Yeah, and the only way that you're gonna find out our last-minute locks for these fights is if you follow us on Instagram and if you follow us on Twitter. Our Instagram is Pickin Fights, no G, just Pickin. And we'll have our Twitter handles up on the screen. But, I think it's going to go to decision. That's just my feeling there. But we got to keep in mind, too, Jack Hermansson does have some submission victories over the past. And who knows, with a guy like Edmund with bad cardio, he might wrap himself around him in the third round and end this with a tap out. So that's something we got to keep an eye on. I'm definitely feeling more decision right now. Skidds, you got anything to say about that?
I think the fight between Herm Edwards and Chase Edmonds is interesting. I think the resiliency Herm Edwards showed coaching the New York Jets kind of reflects the same thing you guys were saying. He's got grit, He's not going to give up. He's going to get in there. He's going to rough them up. He's going to take a couple roughers. But he's going to get out of there, and he's going to secure the W. I'm going first-round knockout.
Wow, okay, that's a strong take. We're going to make sure to keep track of all Skidds' picks, too. We're going to be putting those out on social media.
Who did you pick in that one?
Herm Edwards.
No, I think he's saying Jack Hermansson.
Jack Herm Edwards.
Yeah. Like we said, like Skidds said, he's not a huge UFC guy, so if he starts throwing some crazy names at you, that's how he's remembering it right now. Don't get it twisted. He knows what he's saying. He just doesn't know who he's saying it about. So the next fight that we have up on this card David Dvorak versus Rallion Paiva. Another name I can't really say.
Paiva.
I like Dvorak here, and my reasoning, number one, is going to be kind of interesting. You might disagree with me here, but Dvorak is an extremely tactical fighter. He knows strategy, and I heard this on another show. Guy doesn't know strategy strictly because of MMA fighting. He was actually a pro chess player before he got into MMA.
Love it.
So that shows that, his brain hasn't been completely beat to mush like some of these guys. You see a guy like Mike Perry and you're like, how many more concussions can this guy take before?
How much more can his nose take? Its nose is probably liquid at this point.
Yeah, he's going to be mouth breathing for life pretty soon. But he's on a win streak right now, and he's never been KO'd. He's gone to decision 3 times. And, when you talk about Paiva, he makes a lot of questionable decisions when he's out there, and I don't think that fares well against a guy that's super tactical in the way that Dvorak is. He really starts fast in these fights, and then by round 2, round 3, he starts getting a little winded. He starts falling apart. Dvorak is the favorite here at -150. Again, that's good parlay bait. Not a crazy line to make you think that maybe I shouldn't take this straight, like we saw with Ben Rothwell before. So I like Dvorak. I like him here. I'm not sure how it's going to go. I think it could be a decision victory. I can't see him getting KO'd by this guy, so I'm taking him. I'm taking him for semi-lock. Semi-lock.
David, the Undertaker Dvorak is a lock for me, and I'll give you one name, and I'll tell you why. Yuri Prochazka. What do they have in common? The UFC came a-knocking, and they both said, no. Let me go get better. I'm going to come in. I'm going to take the UFC by storm. He's 5-0 since coming in. He hasn't been stunned or KO'd. He's basically the complete package. He's great standing up. He's got a great ground game. He's got really good submission game. He's got really, really good ground and pound. Listen, Paiva, he slows down in the late rounds, and Dvorak almost gets better in the late rounds. He speeds up. Paiva, he's a hittable guy, and, he likes to counter strike, so he's going to be looking to maybe take one to give one. But against a guy that is, 1, way more tactical, 2, has got a lot of experience outside the UFC and on a sick run now that he's inside the UFC, 3, has a much better nickname. I'm picking David Dvorak, and I love him. Paiva, he's 3-2 in his last 5. He has a recent ACL tear as well. David Dvorak, 5-0 in his last 5. I'm not seeing anything that's given Paiva, I don't want to say he doesn't have a shot. It's fighting. Literally anything can happen. He can maybe take 1 or 2 and then, clip Dvorak with maybe a counter left hook or something. But at the end of the day, I'm putting a lot of money on David, the Undertaker Dvorak. Skidds, what do you got for me?
I'm right there with you. I thought we canceled David Dobrik, but honestly, the way you guys are talking about him, I just don't think he can be beat. The Undertaker was 26-0 in WrestleMania for a reason. I'm going to go ahead and go David Dobrik by 100. Go ahead and stamp that, mail it in, and send it back to my P.O. box.
Yeah, man. I'm almost surprised that you didn't take Paiva there. You guys have like a little bit of similar athletic history, as was brought up, but we don't have to touch on that too much unless
I was actually gonna say, guy has an ACL tear. I've got arthritis. It's not easy to bounce back. I have to rub a Voltaren cream on my knee every day I go and practice. This guy can't get enough Voltaren cream. David Dobrik is gonna mop the floor with this guy.
Man, that's bad. I didn't know you had to use Voltaren. That's what my mom uses for her arthritis. That's sad, dude.
My grandparents sent me it because they get a veterans discount. So shout out Nana and Papa.
At least you got the hookup, man.
If you had said what Voltaren cream was, I would assume it's what guys use to masturbate with. I have no idea what
you could. It's an NSAID. It'll numb it out.
Oof, I didn't even know that. I don't think I'll ever try it, but good to know.
Shout out Blue Chew.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully they sponsor us. That's a good sponsor to have. So the next fight that we got on this main card, we got Felicia Spencer versus Norma Dumont Viana. Felicia Spencer is like a little bit big for the women's featherweight division. She's a little bit husky. Personally, I think that if she trimmed a little bit of weight, she would probably move down in weight class. I don't know how well that would do for her cardio. But she does understand that, like, this featherweight division is not really that great for the UFC. And she does potentially have a title shot here. So I feel like she does have that drive and that motivation. I'm not really certain this fight's going to go. But Norma Dumont, Vianya, she took this fight on late notice. So that usually doesn't fare too well for too many people. And, you know, with Felicia Spencer's drive to potentially get that title shot in this weak featherweight division, I feel like that might be the element that really pushes her forward. Not to mention that she does have incredible submissions. I don't want to take her as a lock for a submission victory, but if I am taking a prop on this fight, that's probably what I'm going to lean towards. Again, the only way to find that out, those game time decisions, would be to follow us. So if you're not doing that, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe, get it done. But yeah, I'm feeling Felicia Spencer here. Not a lock, but I might take her for that sub.
Listen, Felicia Spencer's got a D1 dumper, okay? She's in this division and not a division below because strictly of her ass. So that being said, she's also has a win over is Megan Anderson, while Norma Dumont has a loss. So and then you just look at the history of Felicia Spencer. Her last loss is to Amanda Nunes. Pretty solid. I got to go with Felicia Spencer here. I don't feel like not going to lock it. I may not even bet it myself, but looking at these, honestly, listen, guys, I had a busy week. I have a full-time job. We had some drama going on earlier in the week. I didn't get a chance to fully break these down the way I want to. But listen, a D1 dumper is a D1 dumper. You can't beat it. That's a dumper I would bet on.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I'll put the money on that.
So my gut was telling me buy Felicia, but after kind of hearing what you guys had to say about it, I love a good ass, you know. I love something you can sit back and put your mug up on, you know, in the words of Dave Chappelle. I'm going to go ahead and go Felicia here. She seems like she could persevere through it all. Amanda Nunes, that's a name I know. She's a savage. If that was her last loss, I can't see anybody really touching her. I'm going to go ahead and go Felicia by decision.
Okay, I don't hate
Keith.
at all. Yeah.
Not by Felicia, but hi, Felicia Spencer. Okay. Subbed rear naked in the first round, your favorite fighter who's now with Invicta, Megan Anderson. So I like Felicia Spencer a lot now. I may put some money on it.
Yeah, everybody knows if they've been watching, I am a big Megan Anderson fan, and the submissions do tend to be her weakness. That's how Amanda Nunes beat her. But, you know, again, when you step in there with some of these fighters like Amanda Nunes, there's just nothing you can do to defend that. But Felicia Spencer, you know, getting that submission victory over Megan too, that really does push me in that submission direction. I think that's the prop I'll be laying down on this one.
Norma Dumont, first round KO by Megan Anderson.
Wow. And by MMA math, like you were saying before, Felicia beat Megan, Megan beat Norma. So it just lines up. You know, the equation works out like that. So you got anything else you guys want to say about this one?
That's the transitive property. Shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I say.
So this next fight that we got Justin Tafa versus Jared Vanderaa. I do want to give Tafa some props here because, you know, I am going to take Vanderaa, but Justin, this is a tough one to pick. There's no other way to put it. Like, this is going to be either, you know, a crazy fight that ends with either one of these guys with a KO, or it's just going to be an absolute snooze fest going a decision till the end. But either way, it's hard to pick because you got a guy like Justin Tafa who's got great cardio. He knows how to maintain distance using calf and body kicks. And those calf and body kicks could hurt Vandeera's cardio towards the end of the fight. But Vanderaa, he's also not as technically sound as Justin Tafa is, but he is bigger. He's got more of a reach. He does have a history of KOs. He KO'd a couple guys in his career. But one of the things that makes me not want to take him is he can't really handle takedowns. He is dangerous on his feet, so if this is a stand-up match, then I'm really going with Vanderaa. But this is one of those ones that can go either way. One last reason that I'm taking Vanderaa is because he does train with Team Quest. And when you look at those Team Quest alumni, you got guys like Xiaonan, you got guys like Randy Couture coming out of there. So clearly a good gym with great history, great game planning, and great stand-up fighters. So I'm rocking with Vanderaa here. Not necessarily a lock, but I like him in this fight.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like Vanderaa. Like you said, 80-inch reach against a 74-inch reach coming out of Team Quest. All I have to hear is Chael P. Sonnen, the American gangster, the bad guy. Yeah, I really like Chael coming out of Team Quest. I think there's a lot to be said to being with these big gyms that have a lot of, history and great fighters there. You're gonna get better sparring partners, and if you're sparring against better guys, you're gonna get better. Not to take anything away from Justin Tafa's gym, but these guys, we also got a southpaw versus an orthodox fighter. I think one of two things is going to happen. Tafa's going to come in, and in the first minute, he's going to KO him, or we're going to get a long decision by Jared Vanderaa that, honestly, a lot of fans, you can use this one to go take a dump. Go take a dump, refill your beer, have some pretzels. I don't see this being a great fight. Sometimes we'll be like, oh, watch out for this fight. It's a fight of the night. I'm not sure why this is the exact opposite of a fight of the night. Not sure why Dana has it so high on the card. Maybe one of them has some Dana White privilege, but that being said, Vanderaa, he does have some questionable striking. Tafa is a decent striker, but Vandeera's got the experience. Vanderaa has the edge when it comes to gas tank. In my opinion, he's got the edge when it comes to gym, sparring partners, training, experience, height, reach. Jared Vanderaa.
Yeah, all signs point to him. Skidds, what do you got for us on that
one? Honestly, I wanted to play devil's advocate, but I didn't even realize this guy's first name was Jared. I have to go with my name brother. It's something we as Jareds kind of pride ourselves on. It's supporting one another. There's a Jared around me who just got me a job at a pizza place. So if anything, I think this Jared who we're betting on right now is going to win me some money. It's like the Pay It Forward movie, except only amongst people who share the name. I'm going to go ahead and go Jared Vanderaa.
Speaking of the name Jared, my name was actually almost Jared. And then my two cousins, they're 5 years older than me. Before I was born, they were 4 or 5 years old. They said, Jarhead, 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 Jarhead. So my mom and dad quickly nixed that. So Mom, Dad, thank you for the help with that.
No, you don't want to say thank you for that.
Time
You're
out.
Part of the Jared clan.
I didn't want to be called Jarhead by my cousins.
Did they change your name after you were already named Jared?
Well, I wasn't born yet. They were just floating the idea of Jared out there, and these two idiots, Mike and Matt, could have put a quick nix to that. And thank you.
I was imagining his parents like, yo, Matt and Mark are like going kind of crazy. Maybe we should reestablish this guy's name. Maybe put a nix to that.
That's literally what they did, except I hadn't hatched yet. So
fair enough.
I'm still cooking.
That's hilarious. All right, so we got another fight up on this card. It's the co-main event, Xiaonan versus Carla Esparza. So, Tom, I'm going to let you kick this one off because I know you've got a little bit of an opinion, and I want to see if you can sway me before I give my pick here.
Okay, well, so that kind of gave it away. Right now, Keith is thinking that he wants to take Carla Cookie Monster Esparza. I want to pick Xiaonan. Probably not pronouncing that right, but listen, Esparza, she's not really a finisher. Both of these women are very good. Jan has a great takedown defense. She's better on the feet. She's also the bigger fighter. Jan, she's got wins over Angie Overkill Hill, who I recently tweeted at. Angie, tweet me back, please. I bought one of your shirts.
We love you.
You heard the man.
Jan, she's, she mentioned earlier this week that she's very upset about Rose's calling out of China. So I think that could potentially be an additional motivator here. Kind of similar to how Rose kind of brought some drama into the fight that really had nothing to do with Weili Zhang. So good for Jan for bringing something in. Also, fighters named Jan, really doing well now. Piotr Jan, Jan Blachowicz. It's a good time to be named Jan. So because of those reasons, Also, Jan has fought some big name fighters. Let me rattle these off for you. She fought Angie Overkill Hill. Never mind. Nix that. She didn't fight big name fighters. I must have read my trusty notes wrong. Mom, you were right. I need to improve my handwriting. Either way, Jan, she is on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fight win streak. Unanimous decisions each of the last 3. Yeah, unanimous decisions each of the last 3. So it shows that she's got a really great gas tank. She's been doing this since 2017, thoroughly outclassing basically everyone she's fought. I really like Jan in this fight.
So the reason why I like Carla here, and I will say you didn't really sway me with your argument, unfortunately, but I think I might get the people at home with mine. Women's fights are scored differently than men's fights, right? And men's fights are heavily reliant on scoring by damage, and, there is a control time factor, but damage does play a big factor in the men's fights, whereas in women's fights, control time on the ground really plays a huge factor in who wins the rounds. And like you said, Yan has gone to a lot of decision victories, but I have a feeling this is going to be a loss via decision for Xiaonan, because Carla Esparza is a vet, first of all, and like you said, Yan Xiaonan hasn't really fought any big names, whereas Carla Esparza has been in there with some of the best of them. And what I really like about Carla here, just bringing it back to that control time point, she's going to try her best to take down Xiaonan a lot. Now, Xiaonan does have good takedown defense, but like we saw this, we didn't really see it in his fight, but we heard him saying it when he went to go fight Peter Yan. Aljamain Sterling, how many times can I take you down or try to take you down before I actually get it? It didn't happen for him in that fight, but I have a feeling that Carla Esparza is going in here with a similar mentality where she knows that Xiaonan isn't really a ground fighter. And the method of victory here for Esparza is going to have to be a decision. She doesn't really have, at least in my opinion, the KO power anymore. Plus, this would be a move up in the rankings for her. So I have a feeling that this fight's going to be a lot of takedowns for Esparza, rounds 1, 2, and 3, and then her just sitting on top of Xiaonan, getting those control time points, winning on the cards. If she brings her to the ground every round, it's basically game over for Xiaonan. So that is very dependent on her using her ground ability. But that's what I'm thinking. I'm still feeling Esparza on this one. I wouldn't necessarily call it a lock. She is the underdog here, so I like that. She is plus 100 as opposed to Xiaonan's minus 120. And, those lines tell us right there. Even Vegas kind of feels the same way I do. It's rare that you see a plus 100 underdog, which is almost, that's getting close to even. And then at that point, it's going to be a minus money line. So I might actually lock in Carla Esparza here as the underdog, like today, once we get done filming with that plus 100 line, because she is a name that people know. I would like to lock that in before the public starts kind of feeling Carla Esparza here. I don't know. You got any pushback for me on that, Tom?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Look, let's look at averages. And if we're ever going to talk about stats and averages, Yan Xiaonan is the perfect fighter to talk about it. Listen, all of her last 6 fights have all went to decision. She's probably racking up some of the most fight time in the ring of any women's fighter out there. She's got a 75% takedown accuracy, 75% takedown defense, and compare that to your girl Carla Esparza, 35 and 48. That being said, when you say that she's going to take her down and be able to beat her on the ground and the judges are, they're going to judge by control time, I think that still plays for Yan Xiaonan. I'm tempted to make this a lock for me. And I find it very interesting that you're so heavily against it. Strike landed per minute. Jan's 6.2 to Carla's 2.29. Striking accuracy, generally the same. So that's going to go to Yan as well. Strikes absorbed per minute, she has a little bit more strikes absorbed than Carla does, but what does that say about her? It says she's durable, Keith. Furthermore, her defense, 63% compared to Carla's 53%. She beats her in almost every statistical category. She's taller than her. She's the bigger fighter. She's got more experience in her in terms of ring time. Give me Yan Xiaonan. Lock that bitch in. I don't mean to discredit women or be mean or rude. I was using bitch purely figuratively to add an exclamation point to my argument.
Lock that bitch in as in the bitch is the bet. That's
correct
right there.
Correct. Jan would kick the shit out of me. You add the extra motivation of, against Rose Namajunas. By the way, Carla Esparza. I believe, if my memory, and by memory I mean my computer, serves me right, she beat Rose Namajunas back in 2014 via rear naked choke on the Ultimate Fighter, the championship.
See, what really is kind of swaying me is those 75 percentages on takedown accuracy and takedown defense. That does kind of throw a little wrench in my argument here. Still, it's plus 100, and that's just
It's Wednesday. This can all change. Make sure you follow us at our Twitter handles to see if we change our bets at all.
Yeah.
So continue.
I might be swayed differently, depending on how this goes, like these next couple of days with everybody else locking their stuff in and what Vegas says. I mean, we also got to keep in mind there could be somebody getting COVID right before this fight, or, somebody not making weight. So this fight may not even happen. I think these are two women that are very dedicated to the sport, and they will be prepared to fight on Saturday. But that plus 100 line, it's just so tempting. That's what's kind of driving it home for me right now. And I am still leaning towards Esparza. Like we said, this is going to be more of a game time Saturday night, probably at like 8:55 type of decision. So, keep up with us on everything, because I might go Xiaonan, but just based on the way that women's fights are scored, and I don't know, I still like Esparza here. That's just me. You look at the competition she's fought too, like as opposed to Xiaonan. Who has Xiaonan fought? Like any big names? You said it yourself. Like
Angie Overkill Hill. She fought Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who has very similar last name to me. Got 5 takedowns over her. Now Karolina Kowalkiewicz kind of past her prime. She lost to Alexa Grasso. She lost to Michelle Waterson. She lost to Jessica Andrade. I'm starting to realize when we watch these videos of everybody who's talking about this stuff, I thought that they had incredible memories. No, they just have a computer in front of them. I sound so much better with a computer in front of me reading this stuff off. Don't I sound super knowledgeable, Keith?
Oh, yeah, you sound smart as heck right now.
Karolina, she fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk in November 12th of 2016 on the Alvarez-McGregor card. She's got a win over Rose Namajunas. That she used to be something, but listen, getting 5 takedowns on a fighter in a fight is nothing to scoff at. So, you said it yourself, Keith. They judge these differently. They take control time and takedowns very seriously. And Jan has proven that she can do that. Jan has went out there and against every fighter she's fought, she's basically beaten them at their own game and or forced them into a game that they weren't comfortable with. I think she's a smart fighter. We talk about, day in and day out how the Chinese train their fighters as not as if it's their full-time job, but it's their full-time job, their part-time job, and what they do in their free time. So generally, I'm going to give the slight edge to the Chinese fighter. They don't know what the repercussions are going to be should they lose or should they disappoint. Look at Weili Zhang. She had to cut her hair. So, maybe that was her decision. We have no way of knowing. I'm not insinuating anything, but I'm just saying. So I like Yao Xiaonan. Sorry, I don't think I've said it yet the same way or correctly.
Yeah, neither have I don't know. I got to take a class in Mandarin to figure out how to pronounce this last name. But, yeah, you're kind of swaying me here. But I'm still feeling Carla. Skidds, what do you got for us here?
If you know me, putting heavy emphasis on names. My UFC buddy, he has a podcast of his own. I'm going to shamelessly plug it. Martian. What is his name?
What a plug.
Good job. All right, what were you about to say?
Whatever his name is, Martian. We'll call him John. His name's John Natton. It sounds like that's the name you guys kept saying, John Natton. So he actually told me to go with Esmeralda. I'm not going to go with Esmeralda. I'm going to go with John Natton. Ironic enough, because John Natton gave me the Esmeralda pick. So I'm going to go ahead and go with John Natton. She seems like a good fighter. She has hair. You said she doesn't have hair?
She has hair.
She has hair. She may not if she loses. Not sure.
I'm going to go ahead and say that hair means something to her. She wants to keep that hair. She wants to braid that hair. Potentially, she wants to dye that hair. Perhaps anything goes. I'm going to go ahead and go John Natton. I think she's going to knock her out. Xiaonan is going to knock out Esmeralda. Esmeralda, she's an underdog for a reason. As we know, it's all about the names in the UFC. I hate to say it. It's all about the names. I'm going Xiaonan.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna stick with your boy, the Martian, because he sounds like he knows what he's doing over there. I'm still riding with Esparza on this one. I'm gonna fade the both of you. And Saturday night, after Carla Esparza wins, I cannot wait to gloat on Twitter. I'll be giving props to your boy if that pick comes through. If it doesn't, well, we'll never mention him again. Sorry.
Yeah, and if he was right, I will get the correct name of his podcast and plug it appropriately.
All right, sounds good. We might let you do that. So next up, the main event for UFC Vegas 27, we have Rob Font versus Cody No Love Garbrandt.
Rob Times New Roman Font, baby.
Comic Sans Font.
Hell yeah.
So I think we're all kind of in agreement on this one. We did speak a little bit before the show. And I think we're all going to be backing each other up on this pick, man. Rob Font, he's beat some great competition. He beat Sergio Pettis, who's now the champ over at Bellator. He had a first-round KO over Thomas Almeida. You know, and against a guy like Cody Garbrandt, this is going to be a stand-up fight. It's going to be a boxing match more than anything because neither of these guys are really great at, like, takedowns or even takedown defense or anything like that. So I think they both understand this is going to be a big, like, in-the-pocket boxing match. An all-out brawl and dogfight. I have a feeling that that's the reason why this is the main event for fight night. This is a fight that's going to draw a lot of people in with a nice KO. And if it is a boxing match, like I think it's going to be, well, we got to keep in mind that Rob Font has a 6-inch reach advantage over Cody Garbrandt. And while I am a Cody Garbrandt fan, you know, I've liked him for a long time. And this is a tough one to pick because he has beat Font's previous opponents. He just doesn't have that great of a technique anymore. When he gets hit, he doesn't really know how to react. So I have a feeling that Rob Font's going to use that long reach that he has over Cody Garbrandt, keep his distance just enough, but still stand in there like tight where he's, you know, landing big shots on Cody Garbrandt, and potentially get a knockout here. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. I'm kind of feeling Rob Font for a KO on this one. I don't know what the lines are. They're not even up yet so far as I've seen, but you know, follow us on Twitter and we'll be posting them up. But that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Rob Font for a KO here.
On Wednesday at 6:38 p.m., I have the lines at Rob Font -115, Cody Garbrandt -105. So essentially that's telling me that this is a pick-em. Vegas isn't even sure yet. A lot of people haven't gotten their bets in, so I'm sure as we get closer, we're going to see, you know, those lines change and we're going to maybe see a favor, but we may not. It may be a straight-up pick 'em fight to right up until when the fight starts. Listen, Thomas Almeida, he lost 4 of his last 5 in a row, coming to Jimmy Rivera, Rob Font by TKO kick, Jonathan Martinez, and then Sean O'Malley TKO punch. That was the one where Sean knocked him out and thought he was out. He wasn't out, came back. He goes, oh, well, I want to knock him out with my right hand, so came back, knocked him out with the right hand.
Another right hand from Sugarland.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like Sugar Sean. I love watching him fight. Don't like him as a person. Sean, come fight me. I'll happily take a punch or a kick. You know, just pay my medical bills, please. That being said, listen, Rob has a really great jab. He's got a phenomenal jab, and you couple that with being the more technical boxer. You couple that with having the longer reach too, against a fighter who, listen, Cody Garbrandt, super fast. You know, but he doesn't have a ton of, like, you know, we think of him having a ton of, like, really, really great wins. But at the end of the day, he fought a couple no names, Thomas Almeida, who largely fell off after that fight. Taeka Mizugaki, you know, not a large name, not a super stupendous fighter. I'm pretty sure he's not even in the UFC anymore. He went out and he won a unanimous decision against Dominic Cruz. It was a solid win, but, you know, it could have gone to Dominic Cruz, but still, solid win in 2016. That's 4 years ago. Then he went on, he lost to TJ Dillashaw because they had that rivalry. He got an automatic rematch, lost again. He lost by TKO punches both times. Now, you can say that was, you know, the performance-enhancing drugs on TJ Dillashaw, but you can take as many steroids if you want. If you're not in the gym, you're not going to get a great physique. So, listen, I still give TJ Dillashaw the edge over Cody Garbrandt. Then he comes back. He loses to Pedro Munoz. A lot of people aren't talking about this, but they actually headbutted, and that really pissed off Cody Garbrandt that the ref didn't say anything. And when Cody Garbrandt gets mad, he gets wild. Now, he is training with a new coach. I believe he's training with Matt Hughes. So, he's looked better since coming back and fighting with Rothwell Asuncao. He had a really fast KO of him, but I think that was more or less Asuncao just getting like lazy at the end of the round. I mean, you've got both probably remember, you probably saw it. It was one of the knockouts of the year. It was right at the bell. Asuncao gave a lazy jab, and Cody Garbrandt ducked under, and boom, came up with the right hook, knocked him out cold and clean, fell on his face. And Asuncao, he doesn't get knocked down. But here's what we know about Cody Garbrandt. We know he is a fast fighter. We know he can get reckless, and we know he's got some power. But when you pair that against a guy like Rob Font, who's got a lot of experience, he's the more technical boxer. He always has his hands near his head to protect himself. He's got the reach advantage. He works off that really great jab. Listen, if Cody can stay calm, I think he has a really good shot here. I just don't know if he can. Rob Font also has some great wins over Marlon Moraes and Ricky Simone. The Marlon Moraes fight, I mean, I watched it this morning, and I also watched it 2 days ago because it's just such a good fight. Marlon Moraes takes him down because that's his specialty, because he knows that he can't stand with Rob Font. And as soon as Rob Font gets away from Marlon Moraes, first round knockout. So I really like Rob Font here. I'm not quick to lock it in as a lock. Personally, I would like to see Cody Garbrandt win. I love No Love. And, he's a great fighter. He's fun to watch. I'd love to see him go on a streak, have TJ Dillashaw come back, and, maybe at some point they go for the trilogy. And, I wouldn't mind seeing Cody Garbrandt, come back and beat him, especially because Cody Garbrandt, I believe, he's really not too old compared to TJ Dillashaw's 35. And it doesn't even say his age here. I'd have to do the math. What's July 7th, 1991? How old does that make him?
That's
29.
Yeah, 29.
Makes him 29. So a year down the road, he'll be 30. TJ Dillashaw is 36, coming off of some injuries. He's coming off of a couple of years out. He's coming off of the EPO suspension. I'd like to see Cody Garbrandt go back out and get a dub there. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to beat Rob Font.
Yeah, just, 2 points just to play off what you said. Yeah, Cody Garbrandt does get very wild, and say Rob Font does catch him or do something maybe a little bit dirty, knowing that Cody Garbrandt's this type of dude. He might do something a little bit fishy to encourage Cody Garbrandt to come back out just swinging like a madman in the next round. And did you mention the fact that Cody Garbrandt had a tough battle with COVID?
I don't know if I didn't. Thanks for bringing that up, Keith. He had a really, really tough battle with COVID. Actually, one of the worst, that I've heard, especially, you hear a lot of these, very athletic guys. They sometimes can kick COVID like it's nothing, or they have a really, really bad deal with it. I think in Cody Garbrandt's case, he was asymptomatic, and these guys, they train so hard that they overtrain their bodies. Like sometimes it's actually it's bad how much they train and how hard they go. And these guys, they have some of the strongest minds in the entire world. That it's not like they're superhuman. Their bodies hurt just like yours and mine do. The problem is that our brains are normal, and generally we stop when we feel pain, at least to a certain degree. These guys don't. And that's why they're so much better at taking shots. You need to be crazy in order to get to the level of skill that these guys are at. That being said, Cody Garbrandt, Khamzat Chimaev, these guys had really, really bad problems with COVID because they just consistently kept training until the wheels fall off, till quite literally almost their lungs fall off. So they have Cody Garbrandt coming back after 11 months away. He's coming back after a long bout with COVID. We know he's a wild fighter against the guy who's more technical, longer, works off the long jab, and Rob Font, he's got almost a 7-inch reach advantage at the same exact height. He's had more significant strikes landed per minute. He's got better accuracy. He's got better takedown percentages and averages. And he's got a better submission average. Not to say this fight's going to go to the ground, but if it does, it favors Rob Font as well. Listen, I really like Rob Font here. Not going to lock it in as a lock because with that speed and that power of Cody Garbrandt, anything can happen at any time. But I like Rob Font.
Yeah, I think one last thing to mention just before we let Skidds say his piece is this is a bantamweight division where the belt is held by Aljamain Sterling, and anybody, any MMA fan that you ask, that man's the paper champ. Nobody likes him at this point.
Boo!
And
Boo, Aljo! Boo!
absolutely, man. I've never seen somebody deserve an Oscar the way that Aljamain Sterling does. But
Punch.
Rob Font, he is ranked number 3, right? And we do have a lot of guys coming back. We do have TJ Dillashaw coming back. This is Cody Garbrandt coming back after 11 months. Who else? Henry Cejudo was teasing potentially coming back. We got Peter Yan, who's going to go back for that belt at some point. So I have a feeling that, just Dana White and Sean Shelby being the matchmakers that they are, know that they're looking to put somebody up either against Aljamain Sterling when he comes back and like the year from his neck surgery, or potentially someone to take an interim belt if he never comes back. So I feel like they're really doing a good job now. We were supposed to have TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen. They're just really trying to shuffle this division around and see who they can put into a position to get that belt from Aljamain Sterling. Skidds. Oh, Tom, you got something else you want to say?
I was just going to run through the bantamweight divisional rankings for you. You got Aljo, throw him away. He's trash. He's garbage. Peter Yan, who's the champion. Corey Sandhagen, who I think is going to lose. Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, Jose Aldo, Marlon Moraes, who, remind you, Rob Font just beat, Frankie Edgar, Pedro Munoz, Dominic Krug, Marav Dvalishvili, who should be way higher on on the ranking, and then you have Rafael Asuncao, who is Cody's last win. So, I mean, when we're going to look at comparing who these guys beat in their most recent fight, it just goes more towards Rob Font, and I think a lot of people are going to bet on Cody Garbrandt because he's more of a name. Like I said, my heart wants to go with Cody Garbrandt. I like Cody Garbrandt. I want to see him fight. I want to see him do well. But Rob Font's going to win this fight.
Yeah, we want the public to take Cody Garbrandt because we always fade the public. Kids, what do you got for us on this one?
They don't call him Rob Wingdings Font for nothing. He's going to go out there in that ring, and he's going to be winging, and he's going to be dinging. All right? They call him Cody Garbage for a reason. All right? This guy is fucking trash. All right? Cody's going to go in there. He's going to get knocked around for a little bit. He's going to try to throw little haymakers here and there. But you know what? Rob's going to come in. He's going to hit him with that ground and pound, and he's going to get in there, and he's going to show him who's boss. And I'm talking undercover boss. He's not going to have any idea what hit him. Rob Font, baby, send it to the moon. It's a lock. Put it in today because he's going to be the favorite by Saturday night.
I know he's just spitballing, but that actually is not a terrible,
That was great, and I love it, dude. I love your takes, kids. That was awesome. We're going to have to clip that up for the YouTube and for the IGTV. That was very well said. I love it. So just to run down our picks again, my lock, Ben Rothwell. I got Jack Hermansson, David Dvorak, Felicia Spencer, Jared Vanderaa, Carla Esparza, and Rob Font. Tom?
My locks are Ben Rothwell, Jack Hermansson, David Dvorak, and Yan Xiaonan. My picks are Rothwell, Hermansson, Dvorak, Vanderaa, Yan, and Rob Font.
Do you have any other locks that you want to talk about before we move on to something else?
No.
Okay. So, Skidds, I know there was something, and we can tie this back to UFC, but it's a very big thing in the sporting world right now. And despite that, a lot of people actually haven't heard about it. We got the Yerminator. That's the topic of conversation right now. Tell us what you think about Yermin Mercedes.
So I just thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about. I feel like my perspective is that of a social justice warrior, and also not one that's actually really been discussed too much. So before I give my opinion, why don't you just give the listeners a rundown for anybody who doesn't know what's going on? Yeah,
so we had the Minnesota Twins versus the Chicago White Sox a couple nights ago. And Yermin Mercedes he's a rookie for the Chicago White Sox. They're winning. The White Sox are winning in the ninth inning. 2 outs. The count is 3-0. So basically, if he takes a pitch, he can be walked or, whatever. We got these ancient rules of baseball, unwritten rules that nobody really follows anymore. And this was one that I guess you could say broke those unwritten rules, right? So 3-0, Not to mention the Minnesota Twins had a position player on the mound who's throwing like 40 to 60 mile per hour meatballs all over the place, none of them in the strike zone. So that's why he's about to get walked, right? And then this dude on the mound lobs a little meatball, right, like almost like a curveball looking type of pitch. It had that kind of drop to it. And everybody knows if you play MLB The Show and you throw a curveball in a guy's wheelhouse, he's taking a yard. So it's right up in the top of the strike zone for Yermin Mercedes. And that man, the Yerminator, crushed it out of the park. And a lot of people are upset about that. You got the Minnesota Twins broadcasting team saying that's Bush League, you know, that's breaking these unwritten rules of baseball. You know, then you have the other perspective where people are like, dude, the guy's going to hit. He's not going to waste an at-bat. No matter how you stand on it, Skidds is about to tell you the right opinion.
So here's my thing, right? So you have Yermin Mercedes, like you said, a rookie, like you said, going up there 3-0. At the end of the day, what gets rookies paid is statistics. And in baseball, no matter what position you play, unless it's pitcher, the best statistic you can get is home runs. You feel me? So if I'm Yermin, I'm swinging at that pitch literally every day of the week, because me beating a team below 500 isn't going to get me paid. What's going to get me paid is hitting these home runs. Second off, we had the White Sox manager come out, old white guy, right? He comes out and says, oh, this is the unwritten rule. You shouldn't have swung at that pitch. He's going to have some freaking consequences, right? And everybody's like, yeah, he shouldn't have done that. It's all about the unwritten rules. But I think the unwritten rules really only applies when it's, like, convenient. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we have Yermin Mercedes, a young Dominican guy, who's going out there and going yard on this pitch, right? But in my opinion, if that's like Derek Jeter or even like Tom Brady in football, and Tom Brady goes out and throws a game-winning touchdown even though they're up 40, I think every person watching that sport is going to be like, wow, what a fierce competitor. Wow, Derek Jeter really knows how to put the foot on the fucking opponent's neck. But because it's a nobody Dominican guy, we have this fucking manager coming out like he's got some serious consequences. But, like, anybody's fucking doing that. They're only coming for this guy, Yermin Mercedes, because he's a minority. You know what I'm saying? That's my opinion. And I know this is, like, edgy, and I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with this, but, like, the bottom line is people use that unwritten rules when it's convenient. Like, it's the same discussion that we had with, like, Odell and Tom Brady. Like, they act the same, but it's okay because when Tom Brady does it, because he's a winner. He's proven himself. No, he's just a fucking white guy, dude. Like, that's what it comes down to, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I won't disagree with you on some of those points. I don't even know if that's necessarily the main reason. I think that definitely contributes, because when you look at the history of baseball and, you know, who watches that, right? It's not kids. It's really not anybody besides, like, guys that grew up on baseball. And we all know, you know, the profile that baseball fans really fit. You know, it's a lot of old geezers. I feel like, you know, you definitely are right with that point. I'm a big Tom Brady fan, so that man is a winner.
Listen,
have the ring.
I got nothing against Tom Brady. I'm a Red Sox fan. I got nothing against Derek Jeter. You know what I'm saying? I'm not speaking bad on these athletes. I'm just saying, because it wasn't a well-known white athlete, that's why there's unwritten rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also think it has a lot to do with the fact that the video that's going around a lot now is the Twins broadcasting team, and no matter what, they're going to hate what Yermin Mercedes does because he's on the opposing team. You know, there is that. And Yermin Mercedes did pay a bit of a consequence. He got beamed with like a 94-mile-per-hour fastball in the thigh today or yesterday.
In the ass.
Yeah, so that he did pay his consequences, in my opinion. The man's going to be wearing some seams on his skin for a couple days.
Didn't his manager come out and be like, oh, I didn't find any issues with that? Like, I would have had issues if they threw at his head, but –
Yeah,
that's another thing. That's another thing. You know,
what are we talking about?
Come on.
Listen,
protect your rookie.
My opinion is, you know, what you were talking about first, kids. Listen, you're a rookie. What's going to get you paid, what's going to get your name out there is hitting home runs. And the big thing about baseball is they always say you don't waste at-bats. It doesn't matter who you are. If you don't want me to hit a home run, don't throw me a pitch I can hit a home run on. But what did you say the count was? It was 3-0, and he kind of threw him a meatball right over the plate. Well, shouldn't have thrown it over the plate. Fucking just walk the guy.
Yeah, he is a threat. I mean, he's racking up a couple of home runs this year. I believe that was his 4th or 5th. They're not calling him the Yerminator for no reason. And not to mention, this dude was batting all over the field that night. He was only a triple away from hitting the cycle. So it's not like this is actually just like a bum that they did this to. Like, you know who you're pitching to. I know you want to get that quick strikeout or at least get a couple strikes in there. But, dude, if you don't want this to happen, don't put a position player on the mound. And if you are that position player, just take the walk. That's it. Just keep doing what you're doing. Let the next guy get up who's not crushing it all day. Because then, you might have the potential to end it with like a ground ball or something like that. But when you have a dude like the Yerminator up at the plate, you can't throw him those meatballs. That's the thing, man. You can't let him crush it. And it's also really hard to crush a 40-mile-per-hour ball like that. A lot of people don't take into account that those fastballs are really what goes yard a lot more often.
It's physics.
We need to bring steroids
opposite and equal reactions.
Yeah.
We need steroids back in baseball. I want everyone to go up there and go yard. Fucking bring these walls in, make every park 300 yards to dead center, and let's just watch the home run derby every freaking shot. Let's make some home runs worth 2 points. Let's put targets in the outfield so that if they hit them, that's worth 5 points. Let's go. Let's run this up. Baseball's boring, bro. With the UFC, we have fights. People are being knocked out with spinning head kicks and kicks to the chin. Like, baseball doesn't need people to walk instead of hitting home runs. That's like saying when what's his name? When Tony Ferguson was fighting Justin Gaethje at the end of the 5th round, and Tony Ferguson was wearing every single punch, that Justin Gaethje should have been like, all right, whatever, like, let's just go to the ground and let's just like wait this out. No, he knocked that freaking dude out. Like, let's go. In today's day and age, people don't have the time to sit and watch baseball. Certainly some old people are going to be mad at me, and to that I say, you're going to die soon. So let's do what's better for us.
Yeah, man. Like we were saying, baseball fans are just a lot of old geezers at this point. So, they're looking for ways to get young people back into the sport. And how do you do it? Well, you do it with action, and that's why the UFC is thriving. I think that was a really good way to tie it all together. Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we call this episode?
I think the Birds are going to win the NFC East this year. I just want to be the first one to say it. And North Carolina will be in the college football playoffs.
Well, I have a feeling that you're going to be a recurring guest on this show. You did a great job. You didn't know much, but you came into the fire, you sat in the hot seat, and you thrived. So, Skidds, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure you hit that like, that subscribe. Follow us on our handles here. We're also going to post up Skidds' in post. Give us that follow, man, that like and that subscribe. That's what keeps us going. Thank you, fellas. Have a great night.